are streaming and it's showing the right stuff. Okay, perfect. So, um, let's see what games we have. Should we start with what game do you want to start with looking at?
I don't mind too much. We could start in the highest division.
All right. So Warwick is playing Nottingham, but I think Cambridge UCL seem like this quite a competition right now, fighting for
Yeah,
first. Let's see what they're doing on the first board. Okay, so pretty standard opening. F3. Okay, you can see this all right.
mhm.
Okay, all right. Um, Rush Bukuremi playing Minko Dimitri with some more interesting opening. Knight f3 d5, d3 knight f6, and going for a slightly unstable position, I'd say. Not the most common opening we see, but looks pretty interesting.
Mm.
Let's see how Warwick is doing against Nottingham. Oh, okay.
Oh, this is very exciting.
How did we get here? Okay, so Victor's playing black. So Sicilian going for Rossolimo, I believe.
Yeah, it's a close Sicilian.
Okay. And okay.
Yeah, this is very standard. Um,
And this is
I'm
standard,
not
right?
sure what's going on though. I'm not sure. Maybe this is normal. This part. I'm not sure if D4 is normally played.
Yeah,
Uh,
really double-edged now. Although bishop is going to go to G2, and what do you think is the plan here for white?
I think white can do a few things. Having so many pawns in the center is kind of nice because it gives you this massive wall. So the trouble for black is it might be quite hard to exploit the weakened king because there are just not many pieces in play. So black is,
Yeah.
I would say black is behind in development because black hasn't castles or anything.
Yeah, I mean this does look weird at first, but now that it's playing out,
Yeah, so it's
it looks like
one way
he's sorted it.
to exploit it, black might want to go knight h5, knight f4 perhaps, or something like this at some stage.
Would he
I
have
can't
time if knight
see.
b3, queen d2?
Yeah, even
Maybe knight here, rook here, and pawn push. Although it does seem like a lot for not much.
it seems like white is fairly safe after all, at least for now.
Yeah. Although Victor does know his openings quite well, so I'm sure he knows what he's doing right now. But this is quite interesting. In other boards, board 2 for work, Nottingham, we have. What do we have here? White is looking okay. Pretty interesting position. These bishops are looking quite dangerous on both sides, actually. Maybe some knight. Okay, yeah. Some. So knight takes c4. Okay. Doubled pawns. Maybe pawn to d5.
It might be quite hard to defend that c pawn in the future. It's very far extended.
I mean,
I'm not sure I like this black.
if this pawn ever moves, then this pawn becomes weak because of the bishop.
Mm.
Although he does have some activity, so
I like it with d5 because it completely locks off that c4 pawn,
yeah.
and
Okay, so
there's
he plays
quite
d5. He goes with it. Interesting. not looking too great for black now. I think queen. I think he needs to play a5 bishop here at one point to protect the pawn if he really wants to. Um, Maybe white can play e5 at some point. Um,
Yeah, eventually, because none of black's pieces are really pointing at that square. So white could find a very active knight on e5. Maybe it could end up on c6.
yeah,
But it's also just a question of can white just round up this extra pawn first and play down the c file, perhaps?
yeah. Either way, white does have a lot of plans, and black seems pretty passive right now.
Yeah, it looks very good on the
Yeah,
clock as well. Let's move on.
and then actually, engine is Evalbar is showing Max is in trouble. Oh,
Ooh,
wow,
how, how did this happen?
wow.
Oh no, the queen is pinned.
What? Oh my god. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Caro-Kann being played. Um, so far,
Queen b6.
Max never plays a Caro-Kann. I think.
Yeah, so I have some inside information. I think
Ooh,
Queen b6 is a move Max plays sometimes in Blitz,
okay. All
so
right.
he's brought out his rapid play.
He's brought it out. Oh no. Okay, so so far so good. Even this is. Ah, big mistake. Big mistake here by Max. So if bishop takes, which is what he did, we have if pawn takes, bishop takes, and that's fine. But I think he simply missed. He just missed queen check, and he needs to move the queen now, right? Or else he loses it. But he missed bishop b5. Ugh.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a rough one.
Look, that's a rough one. Can't do much anymore here. And then we have what's going on at board 4? Board ooh.
Ah, this is yeah, this is the where you sacrifice an e5 with the knight in like an e4 e5 structure.
Oh, okay. So how did
That
this
might be
happen?
quite interesting to show actually.
All right. So we have four knights. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty standard sacrifice here. Okay.
So this is kind of a position that black would have because of this a3 move that white's put in.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite a decent position for black when black gets it.
Although I'm not sure about c6.
Yeah, I'm not sure you want to give white the bishop pair in this kind of position.
Although I do understand why
Well,
you
I'm
would
not
be
sure what's
annoyed
going
with
on with the.
f4. So maybe c6 is the only move then. Actually, that doesn't make so.
I mean, a6 could be a move as well, I think.
Yeah, a6. Um,
I'm a bit curious what the plan was with knight b5. And even now, I'm not sure what's going on because it looks like black might be able to capture on e4.
yeah. Okay. So oh, so takes queen takes.
So obviously the e pawn's hanging now
Yeah.
because if you play this queen e5 check, black can block with the queen and you have no time to take on g7 because the queen is pointing at the white king.
Probably if takes, queen here,
Mhm.
and so I think he
Yeah.
would go. Queen e7 is interesting in this position. So
Mm. This is a full pawn gambit, I think. I think
yeah,
white doesn't get the material back, but will perhaps try to play.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, he's got bishop pair, and he can. I mean, she can castle in this position. Um, there is lots of compensation, I'd say. maybe
It's not. Yeah,
it's
it's not clear how to get the pawn back, but there's some long-term compensation with those
I
bishops.
mean, bishop goes here maybe, and the castle long, and kingside attack could happen. So maybe white is going for this plan, and I mean, maybe a simpler move for black here would be queen e7. Um, but I don't. Obviously, the best move probably is just to take. You don't want to play here and just give up the bishop pair and not have an extra pawn. So
Yeah, the extra pawn is very enticing.
yeah, I would take here, honestly. I think it's a fair. I think black might it might be like an equal position. If knight takes, just extra pawn wouldn't be too much of an issue. But
Okay, what other matches should we be looking at?
we have. So this is UCL Cambridge.
That's quite an important matchup.
What?
That's quite an important matchup, I think. I think they're both doing quite well. I don't know the current standings, but
Yeah, I mean UCL is meant to be the favorite for this tournament, although Oxford is. I think Oxford beat them yesterday. Um, so board one right now. It's looking like queen trade happened um, over here, and so I think knight here could be something to look at.
mhm.
So knight here, rook would have to move, and you can win a pawn. Um, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it might be interesting if Black responded with knight c2.
So knight, okay, so knight b6, knight c2, and
But
rook rook a4.
yeah, that would probably just work. Cool.
So although but so knight, so you end up taking the pawn on d4 in the end.
Yeah, you can take on d4 in
Okay,
that position.
so
No, actually,
that's not so certain anymore. Okay,
you don't want to lose the rook, actually. Sorry. You can go like rook d8.
yeah, you go rook b8 and then takes knight takes d4. Um, so I'm not
But,
sure that's
but
good. I'm
Black,
not sure knight b6 is that good
well,
for
Black might have a lot of problems actually in the resulting position because
knight here, knight c2, rook a4, rook b8, rook takes, knight takes. So
I think there might be quite a few intermezzos available to White because the nature of this position is that White has more moves that will just push Black backwards, but
although I
long term,
personally see this as quite problematic for black, for white, because we have threatening this.
yeah, this position looks good, but I'm not sure Black would ever get here because
Yeah,
White could play some kind of like e4 move maybe after Rook b8.
e4, but then the
I
knight
mean,
takes
maybe
this way.
yeah, maybe there's some transpositional issues with the knight in the moment, but in the right line, I can definitely imagine some pressure coming on the knight on c2 with the rook c1.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe he needs to wait, but it is quite interesting.
yeah, Black really needs to be sure that c6 is covered because the long diagonal bishop. If there are any tactics from that, that's probably how White could win material in this position.
Yeah,
Structurally, White's got a little bit of a mess with the b pawns,
yeah,
where Black will get an outpost for his knight on b4, as we already see, which is very hard to remove.
yeah,
And Black has two bishops. It's a very nice position, except for that White is quite far ahead in development.
yeah, exactly. Um, I think it might be one of those positions where it might be maybe slightly better for black um, right now, depending on what white does. Especially white is low on time.
Yeah, White has to find good moves to keep up
Yeah,
pressure to avoid his problems coming back to bite him.
yeah. These positions are easy to say are good with the computer, but they're really hard to play, especially if you don't play outright with these pawns and you don't even have a bishop pair. So yeah. Okay. So then we have board. Okay. So pawn to e4. Play just bishop g6. Maybe he's trying to push for um maybe d5 at some point.
Yeah, if you manage to open the E file before black is able to castle safely, there could be some serious danger.
Yeah, and then this diagonal might be opened up as well.
Mm.
So that would be quite interesting. And then we have board two for Cambridge UCL. Um,
Oh, this is quite a fight.
okay, okay. So we got here through a what is this? I think is this the
Yeah, this is a very cagey opening by black.
yeah, what's it called? Bogo Indian? Um,
No, this is some kind of modern
yeah,
defense.
it's kind of modern. Okay.
It's one of these things you play to avoid theory.
Yeah.
As you can see, like black's not using a lot of time, but white's really thinking in this game.
Wow. So in this position,
Oh, maybe white
oh,
arrived late.
white arrives 5
Uh,
minutes late. Okay, that makes
oh
more
wow. So
sense. Wow.
th- he's currently on 7 minutes and 44 seconds, and he started with 8 minutes.
Okay. Well, he could have lost. Okay, well, he lost half his time, but he gained back over a minute until this move. Okay, so anyways, in this position that we ooh, okay. So in this position, black went c4. So this is a live position. Um, so idea is bishop takes, knight takes, e4.
Yeah, it's deflecting the defender from
Yeah,
e4. Now,
it's
white
really
doesn't have to accept.
yeah. It's quite common in position like Benoni when you play moves like c4 and you deflect the bishop on d3. So should be quite common in the modern as well. What do you think? Takes or goes back?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The thing is, this c pawn is really strong. So it could be worth capturing.
I think
But if you do, then you lose a lot of your power to play e5 later on
yeah. So
because
you
you don't
lose
have
that.
any.
Although
But
it's
also,
it's you do get this far and you might be able to put some pressure on the king later on. Maybe oh okay. So bishop b1 was played. Um,
personally, I was looking at the a6 pawn. I'm thinking maybe I can find a way to take that later.
yeah, that as well. And obviously bishop takes c4, knight takes. You always have like these plans with like knight g5 as well, maybe
Mhm.
making this weak. Um, it's quite interesting position. Maybe bishop b1 is what he went for. His
Yeah,
plan.
so he just wanted to continue holding all the material, and none of the pieces have been traded in this position.
Oh, so
White
actually,
has also avoided piece trades that might have helped black.
yeah, the queen. Okay, so he's trying to play against c4 then, um, which is what he's
Yeah,
doing.
you can definitely imagine the rook getting involved as well.
Yeah,
Or some other aggressive play on the king side because white's pieces are all very central.
yeah,
So knight g5 is much stronger here because there's no way to challenge it. I mean, although it doesn't target f7, it's quite a permanent piece.
yeah. I mean, it can always
Or bishop
be
g5.
moved and play with f4 or
Mm. Yeah, f4, f5, and you can weaken this h5 pawn.
Okay, so you played queen c. Okay, they're playing quite quick.
Okay.
So queen c7, knight d2.
So this is another way of using the knight. So I think maybe he is going for something with his f pawn, like you suggested, and he's
Yeah,
getting a tempo on the c pawn.
although I'm not sure knight d2 is the best place for the knight.
It definitely holds down the position very well.
Yeah, it does put
I
pressure on
think
c4. Wow, they are playing very quick. So rook a4. So knight d2, rook c7, rook a4, and here we have pawn to d5. So it takes
this
and
is
bishop
quite risky.
takes.
Yeah, so I think white will just immediately play e5 in the game. That makes a lot of sense to me.
So you think e5? Okay, so I think
Yeah, so the c4 pawn is not
knight
the big
d4.
target. It's going to be the king side attack is going to be the plan for white,
Yeah, this is the
and
plan for white.
the rook will activate via b4
Yeah,
if need be.
maybe f4 straight away right now.
I think
Um,
if you look at these kinds of positions, the way to understand them is that black can never get rid of that e pawn
yeah,
because the g pawn becomes weak.
yeah, no f6. I mean the bishop's on b1 as well, so
Yeah, that b1 bishop is alive right now.
yeah. So I'm not. I think black obviously doesn't really care about his bishop on e3. He'd be quite happy to trade it with the knight. So we might see pawn f3 could be interesting.
I can imagine bishop g5, then f3, just because it wins the tempo on the knight and preserves the bishop,
So
and also you get this.
you want to preserve the black this bishop.
Yeah, I might like to preserve it a little bit longer, just so I can choose when I trade it.
So bishop g5 threatens also here. f6 cannot be played, causes way too many weaknesses. So probably maybe knight b8, protect the pawn with the queen, relocate the knight, or maybe rook e8. It's not looking too good for black. Looks like a simpler position to play for white.
Yeah, it is interesting that the val bar is level on this one.
Yeah. Hmm. Let's see what's. I don't want to do this, but okay. All right. Okay. The eval bar was not updating. It's +1. This makes a bit more sense. Um, and then we have board 3. Okay, looking things.
Okay, white has a nice extra pawn.
Yeah, although if you trade queens, it's lost.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of practical danger that you don't see when you play when you look at an engine in these positions. It's just
Yeah,
if black can't find a play to force this deep pawn off the board,
yeah.
then
So
suddenly the game could just.
white needs to keep his queen if he wants to push for the win, because takes knight takes. If you push the pawn, the knight goes back. So and we can just play out. Takes pawn push. You lose the pawn.
Yeah, and also like any attempt to defend it with the bishop is g5.
Yeah, you get hit with g5. Um, and
You try to stay on it, but then f6.
yeah, it's not. Although
It's
rook here maybe. Um, what do you think?
yeah, definitely we'll have some compensation for this
Yeah,
pawn. I think in this kind of position.
yeah. It should be equal if they trade queens. It's just a bit harder to play for black. What if what would you? Okay, so
I think one of
so
the other things is that looking at the clock,
yeah.
you
Oh,
don't
three
want to
minutes.
directly trade queens with white
Yeah,
because you want black to have to think a lot more. So by keeping more pieces on the board, there will
that's a
be
good
more
idea.
to worry about with black. So queen f4 is really interesting
So
because it's
this
kind of
is
entering a
queen f.
smaller position.
This is the life position now.
Yeah, so white parried the threat of the queen trade by just saying you can trade queens with me and I'll be the one recapturing.
Yeah, quite a nice
And black
move.
decided no.
Um,
This is actually, yeah, there's a threat of knight d5 actually.
there is, yeah. So
If you get to the pure double rook endgame, it's quite hard for white to win in a lot of positions.
yeah, but if queen's on board, everything changes. Um, so what do you play here? Queen e4, yeah, good idea. And if knight e8, bishop f4.
Yeah, so he's just prevented that knight d5 threat.
Yeah,
This is a very solid approach.
c8, and for rook c6. I mean, in these positions, if rook c1, you kind of lose some edge here.
Yeah, you might be losing your d pawn.
Yeah,
Although the bishop is defending it, so
yeah, and also you might lose the a pawn. I don't know how if that's really a move that can be made, but I feel like black might have enough time to take
yeah, maybe after
the
the
next move.
trade, if white takes with the bishop, then queen a2 is very good. Maybe.
Yeah. So, and if white decides to double his rooks, somehow, maybe rook d3.
Yeah, the trouble is you get to the end of it and everything's attacking the spawn and everything's defending it. And then you find with white that you just don't have the resources to push forward or control new squares.
I mean, in these
So
positions, what sometimes happens is white might want to give up the pawn for some um, counterplay. So maybe moves like queen a4, attacking the a7 pawn, are things worth considering at some point.
yeah, I definitely expect that white will find an advantage, but it might not be a winning one.
Yeah, it might not be enough. Okay, so he's deciding to go. Ooh, rook c5, rook c4. Okay, and also we have a draw on board 4. Wow,
No, that's a very short draw.
what happened here? Wow, have you seen this before?
No, it looks very modern.
Very interesting. Okay, let's just see how this ended up as a draw.
I think this is very far outside of either player's theory.
I mean, I don't understand why you would offer draw here. Like this looks kind of fun.
Yeah, I do wonder who offered the draw. I would assume it was black because black played the last move.
Probably is black.
Um, so
Actually,
perhaps black was content with the draw.
Black is doing better right now.
Yeah, and on the clock as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with black's position. Like the knight's permanently got a good post. The bishop will be active.
yeah, probably some like queen h4 is gonna come at some point. With some f5 ideas, maybe bishop d7. I think white should be in trouble. I mean, computer's saying -1, so
Yeah, I do agree with the computer on this one. I think black is a bit better, but I guess he didn't want to be pressing his advantage for some reason.
yeah. Oh, we have um Imperial board 1 against Cardiff. Okay, well, looks like Imperial is going to win this one. Actually, this guy's my friend, so um, if he did anything bad, I would be roasting his play, but he seems to be playing quite good. Let's look through the game. Pawn to a4, normal stuff. Are you familiar with these openings?
Um, a bit enough that I can see this is very normal play. I
Yeah,
don't know much about sidelines.
it looks like a note boom really, or a Meron. It's it's basically like if white can't stop these pawns, if white somehow loses one of these pawns, he gets in big trouble, which I think is what
Yeah,
he's doing. Okay, so
White's still down a pawn.
this is this does not look good. I mean, queenside majority, 3 pawns is looking quite dangerous. Not sure what he was trying to do here. And from now on, bishop pair, pawn up, 3 pawns against one really. Yeah, okay, so that's how this happened. Um, looks like it's winning for white. I mean for black. Looks like it's winning, right?
Um, yeah, is there any reason you can't take that bishop right now? Oh, rook a7.
Ooh, okay.
There might still be something to this, but yeah, it looks much better for black.
Yeah, I think just rook trade here, and it's not the easiest one to win, but I mean he does have a pawn up as well.
Yeah, and I can definitely see black being able to kick out the knight in this minor piece endgame.
Yeah,
Maybe bishop d8, then some bishop. The light square bishop could kick it again, and there must be some way of just rolling the pawns forwards after that.
yeah, definitely.
It's very scary.
And so we have so far a win for Imperial on board 2, and just go back to let's go see what how Warwick is doing. Oh, wow, very interesting. So this is Victor with black asking some real questions to white.
Yeah, this looks very difficult.
Hmm.
What's happened on the other boards?
We have ooh, time trouble. So
Which game was this?
this is board 2. Um,
Yeah, we had a look at the beginning. I think
it
we saw the
was
opening. Oh, it was this opening. It was
was this
the very
opening.
standard
Okay, so
Spanish.
we looked until here. Okay, play c6. Um,
Yeah, so black has to open the lines to get to that pawn.
that's quite smart because obviously if you take here after trading the queens and you equalize. Um, it actually doesn't look bad for black anymore.
No, it looks like black will be alright.
Yeah,
It's a very complicated
I would
position.
take black here honestly. Oh, okay. So
Oh, and that's sacrifice.
this is a life position, so not looking
Okay, so
good.
what happens after black brings the bishop back?
Yeah, bishop b7.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Right, bishop b7. I mean, it's threatening bishop takes e5 already. So
Yeah, it looks like maybe something has gone wrong for black though, because the D7 square is just extremely weak.
D7 square is very weak. Okay. Oh. Okay, so this actually did not look good for white, but now that this is really interesting. What about rook takes? Doesn't that get rid of all the
Um,
problems? Just a piece up, right?
I do wonder if you could play Rook D7 here.
Rook D7. Hmm. The queen can go here.
Yeah, I thought I had an
It
answer
can't,
to
it can't, it
that.
can't. It cannot.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah, that's wonderful actually.
Um,
So black has no way of defending the bishop.
um, the queen can go here,
Oh, okay.
and I think it's kind of over. It looks
Yeah, that might have been too bold. Um,
so. What happened in live moves? So okay, this will happen. Rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes, bishop b3.
oh, so white just lost a piece.
Yeah, I don't think there's any compensation here.
No, this doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, not good.
White doesn't have any real active threats here.
Yeah, I mean the queen's defending this, the rook and the pawn now, so the bishop just going to move from c7.
Yeah, and D7 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
There's
not
still
sure there's much
some
more
things
to
to play
this.
for, but it's not looking very promising. Oh, okay. So good news. Victor has won. Okay. This is the final position. And the one we just looked up. And here we have Simjiaru, who also has won on board
Now this was
d4.
the game with the pawn sacrifice.
Yeah. Now piece up.
Just 25 moves.
Oh my god. Whoa. What?
Well done, Max.
Max has managed to draw. What this okay, this deserves to be analyzed. Okay, so
So after you lost the queen,
oh my god. Okay, so
I think it's two pieces for the queen.
all right, two
So it should
pieces
be
and a
completely
pawn.
losing.
No, not even. Two pieces for queen.
Two knights, two very tricky knights.
And he's also pawn down. Well, yeah. Wow. Okay, so he's winning back one of the pawns somehow. Good find. Okay, so he
And,
has taken two pawns in a row from this position. So that's a good
and
start.
now, yeah, and now the king is going to be checked by one of the knights.
Yeah, okay, so there is
Very
some
dangerous.
hope.
There is definitely hope here.
And Max is asking the questions. Very good moves. I'm glad he didn't lose his fighting spirit.
Yeah, this has been a very tough resistance, and that's ensured Warwick the match win, I think.
Yeah, that I did not expect that. Well, okay, so we have where does this all go wrong for white? Because even now, like it's looking a bit harder. Okay, f4 is
It's still two pieces for the queen,
yeah, and
so
two
it's
pawns.
still very hard to see how black could ever put up resistance in this kind of position.
Yeah, although the white king is getting less and less protected, and the pieces are very badly coordinated for it. I mean, this rook and this queen are not doing much. And this
Yeah, that
knight
rook in
is on
particular.
is really well positioned. This bishop is really well positioned as well.
Yeah, there's sort of a dark square, light square control with these two minor pieces that black set up.
Yeah, I never thought we'd be
Uh,
analyzing this.
but look, white's got to find a place for that rook
Wow.
because until that rook, the main problem is that black's rook is going to be a lot more active.
Yeah, and if this rook ever moves somewhere, these pawns get kind of weak. Also, this pawn could cause a lot of trouble at some point. Okay, so right now, threatening here, rook d7, and white plays f5.
Yeah, I understand it. Trying to get the pawns off dark squares.
Yeah, not too bad. h6, h5. The thing is, I do get this, but
Oh, I see what happened
it's a
now.
bit blocked here, you know? It's not doing too much.
White couldn't figure it out, and you got another sideline.
Yeah, it's hard to get to understand this position as white, even with so much more material.
Well, you just have to get the rook back and around.
Yeah, so he did that. Okay.
And
Oh,
now you'd be
sorry.
a lot less
Wait,
worried.
that was not the actual game. That was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a
So the
game.
actual game, you see what went wrong here
Wow.
is White decided that he couldn't figure out how to bring the rook back, and he couldn't see how to win the pawn ever because it'll just live on three or
So here
e4.
we have, if the rook ever tries to come back, we get some checks and some knights coming and some pawns being pushed. I guess he got stressed.
Yeah,
He had 30 seconds
he
on the
did,
clock.
yeah, he didn't want to figure out how to do it, so he just traded the material with rook e4. That's not the game.
Oh yeah, that is not the game. Okay. Knight takes e4. Queen takes.
So now it's much more holdable.
Yeah, this is really hard. I actually think this might be more equal than. Yeah, okay, now it's saying really.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure how White's meant to win.
Um,
Um,
I feel like
the
he's one of those
engine's
positions where if the engine was depth 50, it would say draw.
Yeah, it might say like +2 draw.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, now we've gone to a position where this whatever advantage the engine was seeing is now completely gone.
I mean, black can just like do this and it's a draw. White can't push for
Yeah.
anything.
So
Okay,
the
well,
way that the White's just got loads of pawn weaknesses and black has almost none here. Like you just can't ever capture any of these pawns with the white queen.
yeah,
It's not possible to make progress with white, so he just made a draw.
yeah.
Well done to
Well
Max.
done, Max. Okay, so um yeah, so Jackson Edward lost um from having a piece down, so fair enough to that. Um and then we've not looked at these games. So KCL Loughborough, KCL is winning. Um, Actually, KCL is not winning, so it's 1-1. And Oxford, Birmingham, Oxford has won all their games so far.
Shall we look at KCL Loughborough since it's still in contention?
Let's see KCL Loughborough. What game is in contention? Here. Okay. Okay.
So the score is 1-1 and there are two games yet to finish.
It looks
Okay,
like they're
maybe.
about to win this one.
Yeah, there's not much to see here. Although that's a very big rating differential.
Oh, yep, that's very true.
But I'm sure he'll be able to clear this up. Um, oh, yeah, okay, he's underrated.
He's very underrated.
Yeah, this guy's underrated.
Very
He'll
nice.
definitely win this game.
Very nice. And then we have board four, KCL Loughborough. Wow, similar.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so he
opposite
has a
story.
piece up, but he's. Oh no,
Other way.
it's going this way. It's not going too well then. I was going to say this pawn can maybe go further, but
I can't see black drawing this. But maybe some black magic can happen with this H pawn. I don't think so, though.
Yeah, I mean, pawn push, king comes here, and
Yeah, it's still and dusted.
game over.
So
Wait,
I
so
guess that's
Leicester is going to beat KCL. Um,
is that going to be a draw actually?
oh, is it? No, no, no. This is left row win as well. So this is gonna be 3-1 probably, and the game has not ended. Okay, and then we have um Imperial. Okay, so Imperial, he did win from the position we looked at. So where were we at? This is the position we stopped. Okay, so how did he win this? Okay, so that's what you said. He get the knight out.
Uh, yeah, so he switched the order from what I said earlier. He restricted the knight before kicking it.
Yeah, that's really really well
It's
played.
interesting that the knight's going to live on d6 now instead.
Yeah,
So it might not have been worth the investment to try and restrict it because it still gets to d6.
yeah, that's true.
But
Hmm.
let's see how he converts it.
I guess it's better on.
It might just be a question of style at this point. Like Black's got a very good position.
Yeah, I think it might have been a thing with he wants to um push c4, and because the bishop it's a bit annoying. So maybe his plan was to play bishop here and bishop here, and so he's defending the pawn, and now he can fully push his pawns.
You can also really slow play it with Black.
Yeah,
So shall we see the moves?
b3, bishop a6.
Ooh.
I would not want to be white here. It's like slowly losing. Okay, so oh what?
It's the opposite bishop endgame isn't actually winning. That's all it is.
Bishop a3. Wait, so where was the wow? Play h5,
Yeah, so he just allows this bishop endgame where the knight takes c3.
and so but he didn't see. So yeah, I mean
But it looks very scary. Because it looks like b2 is unstoppable, and then the light square diagonal. Surely you're going to lose on.
takes. The thing is, does b2 would be very dangerous if you could get a check in time, but you just can't because these pawns are stopping it. So you
Yeah,
end up losing all these pawns in the end.
yeah, that's incredible. Actually, the c pawn on c4 is in the way.
Yeah, yeah. So you had one pawn less. Yeah. Okay. So this really interesting. So turns out that this bishop just can stop everything, I guess. Although it's understandable why you would think you can't hold this as white. Um,
Yeah, you see all the pawns and you see it's so close to promotion. You just think you'll win on tactics.
I think even if you have this position with more time, you can't hold it as white easily. So, but yeah, okay. So you didn't see that, and
Yeah, there's another opportunity to do it there as well, I think.
yeah,
And then we got to this. So now it's the same color bishop endgame, which is totally different.
yeah. Now it's the king's just going to come, and it's game over for all the pawns.
Yeah, and you can see that white isn't able to push those two center pawns
Yeah,
because when you push the d pawn, the e pawn falls. And if you defend the e pawn, you drop the d pawn.
yeah. Well played by Ulyss. And then, so what do we have here? Do we have 4-0 Imperial? 4-0 Imperial, okay. Actually, Imperial drew Oxford yesterday, I think.
Shall we watch that game live while it finishes?
Wow.
Oh, it's very complicated.
This is one of the last games playing. Okay. Wow. So here, Cambridge needs to draw to win.
That's wonderful because that's the result that he can't necessarily achieve.
Wow. Okay.
Oh no, it looks like Black's lost it because White can just push the G pawn.
Right now.
No, 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 it's more complicated than I thought. King A3. Well, the trouble is
Oh.
the knight, the knight is very hard to move for
Oh no.
Black.
It says UCL1.
Oh, he ran out of time.
Oh no no no. Sorry.
Uh,
I think it's just a.
it might just be
It might just be
the
the
lead chess.
player. Yeah, it might just be the lead chess.
Yeah, this happens quite often where it doesn't actually run out of time, but the server thinks it did because the time is very low.
Yeah. We also have something going on here.
Okay, so
So
Black has the extra piece, but White is trying to trade all the pawns off and make a draw. If we're very lucky, we could get a bishop and rook versus a rook endgame.
yeah, those are really hard to win.
Yeah,
And
Black has a
defend.
choice here. Yeah, that seems to be the right way to play it, is to take on d4 and
Yeah.
try and preserve the d6 pawn as Black.
Okay, that's very well played. Winning the pawn on c4, pawn on e4 follows. All right, that looks pretty good for.
Yeah, that would be a nice clear up for Black. He'll be able to hold on to the d pawn, and he'll use that to win.
So
I
Oxford.
guess we can watch it play out because there's no other boards going.
Yeah, I mean, what happened here? Oh no, so
He might have cancelled the live feed, or the Black resigned or something,
yeah,
or ran out of time.
let's just watch this one then.
But it might just be a problem with the live feed.
Okay, so in this position, what will probably happen is, well, what you don't want to play is rook to f4.
Yeah, so Black doesn't need to do too much work to win this pawn,
Yeah,
because the White king is completely cut off.
yeah,
And so what Black is doing is he's just using the rook to defend the pawn, and then the king will become the attacker. So now he's taking the pawn, and now the king's going to hide behind the bishop. And as you can see, the White king just can't get involved; it's just
yeah.
completely locked off.
And now you can control
Um,
this file, so
yeah, so all that's going to happen, this is fairly elementary. Black's just going to make a queen. White's going to have to trade his rook for something,
okay,
and yeah, White resigns.
resigns.
They got the wrong way around.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so in terms of scores, we have Warwick beats Nottingham 2.5 to 1.5. Loughborough beats KCL 2.5, 1.5. Oxford beats Birmingham 3.5, half. Imperial 4-0, and Cambridge UCL we'll find out when we actually get the real result. Sadly, it did not record. Although,
Yeah, I can
do you want
definitely
to?
imagine White
Do you
winning.
want to? Um, okay, so how would White play here?
So White is going to have to keep an eye on the b1 square,
Yeah.
which means that you only have a couple of options. You can move the b rook backwards on the file,
Mm,
um, or you can defend it with the d rook, which would work. But I don't really see why you'd want to do it. It's important to mention that Black can never really win unless White blunders,
I
because
mean, Rook takes B2 is a draw. So.
Yeah, you can sacrifice the rook for the pawn, and rook and knight is not enough to win against a rook.
Yeah.
But anything could happen because white has almost no time as well, and black only needs a draw, so white can't really go for that. So in order to protect the
How could
match,
white
white.
try to win is so what happened so far? If white
Yeah, so some kind of like rook b8 or something.
yes, if rook b8, question is so if black tries to play stuff like knight c3, um, runs it to oops, rook to d3.
It also just loses the pawn.
Very true.
The trouble for black is you've got this nice pawn that's about to promote, but white is always covering the promotion square,
Yeah,
and the knight is always tied down to defending it. But for white, both of the rooks are attacking the b pawn in order to tie the knight down. If the knight could defend the promotion square, you could promote, and then white would have to take, and then black could take back with the knight, and that would solve all of black's problems if he can trade the pawn for a rook.
and
So black has to find a way of playing where he cannot move the knight.
I mean, black
So
doesn't
maybe
have
the
his rook on the file, stopping g6. So
what makes this really interesting is the extra pawn that white has on the g file, on the king side, because that means that black doesn't just have to hold the position. White could like march the king up and try and promote that pawn, and then black has to have a more active defense.
here we have knight g6.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I mean, so threatening this right away. Um,
Yeah, that looks quite hard to defend because the king will just come back to help promote the pawn.
yeah. So this should be a draw, I think. How are you
So
feeling?
maybe rook b5 instead, actually.
Okay, rook b5.
Then we don't get blocked off.
Hmm. So does black have enough time to play moves like rook b6?
So if you trade the rooks,
So it takes so rook b6, takes. If this is
and
not
now,
sacrificed, I think you have enough time. So
yes, I think the rook takes b2 is the move, and then the knight has to just come back.
knight comes in time. So that's a draw.
Yes, yeah, so that would be a draw. So
So
the thing is, white doesn't have to take that. One interesting line might be rook d3 check.
oh, actually, look at this.
Oh, that's a very nice tactic.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Actually,
that's not
if
good.
the rook moves, it's checkmate.
Mm.
If the
And
knight
if the knight
moves,
reaches
you move
on
the rook.
b2,
So you need to take,
yeah.
and it's lost.
Okay, well, it's yeah. As you can see, it's very hard to find just one move for black that gets him out of this position.
Yeah.
But he needs to find some active play, and I think that's why we see a computer eval of 0.4 is because white does have some aggressive ideas that are very. You can't just equalize with black.
Yeah, especially with 10 seconds on the clock.
But you can imagine maybe a rook c6, rook c1 by black,
So rook
some
c6.
kind of plan like that,
Yeah, it's
just to use
fine.
the rook to threaten the promotion.
Black just needs to draw to win the match. Um, okay, so rook c6 does look quite good. Can't see what white can really do. Hmm. D4 maybe. Rook
Yeah,
D4.
white can start to try to set up some threats. I mentioned earlier that white could, if there were no threats for black, white could maybe bring the king up and then move the pawn forwards.
Yeah. Does black threaten anything at the moment? Um,
An interesting trick here might be rook d3 check, and if the king moves back to a2, rook d4.
yeah, rook D3. And if knight here,
Well, I didn't have a move for that, but
king
the knight is
D4,
actually pinned, so it's not super
rook
dangerous.
D4,
I would hope.
knight here.
Yeah, that also looks quite good
Yeah.
for black.
Well, we'll never know what happened. No, I'm kidding. Um, Maybe I can check on their website. That's all the rounds. The next round is in 10 minutes. Um, do you wanna uh, pause the stream for break?
Yeah, okay, we'll go on a quick break and fix the camera.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Okay, so I need to. Alright, we'll be back next round then. Okay. Alright, so they can always hear us. How do I fix this? All right.
Did you catch what scores Cambridge and Oxford were on?
Yeah. So Oxford is first with 11, and oh, why can I not see you? Okay, you're showing. Great.
Hey,
All right, you are showing. Wait, let's make you a bit smaller. Okay, finally fixed. Okay, in the game. All right, let's see. Have they started their rounds? I think they have. All right, let's see.
yeah, we've got quite a few. Wait, actually, sorry.
Ooh,
I think they're all right.
okay, it's on. All right, round 7. First few moves. Board 1 for Cambridge Imperial. We have this is the most contested game.
This,
For
this is the most important matchup
yeah,
in this round, right?
matchup. Yeah, whoever um, if Imperial draws or wins, then Cambridge is not third anymore. And so they want to win for the title race. And so let's see what goes on. So knight f3, knight f6. So basically, reverse Grunfeld. Love this opening. C4. This is natural, and Queen A4. Um,
So this is actually Catalan.
is it?
Yeah, it's become a Catalan. Yeah, it's turned into one.
I personally prefer knight E5 here. Um, but Queen
I
A5.
think also one of the main lines is just to capture on c5.
Yeah, it is. Pawn takes C5. It's actually like quite interesting as well. Queen A4. I think is just the easiest one to play. Um, but actually,
Yeah.
the reason it's not played that much is because of B5.
Yeah, so people do play
What?
that.
He knew that. Did you
Huh?
know B5? Did you know about B5?
Yeah, I've seen b5.
Okay.
Um, it's quite a special line.
Yeah,
So
this is really
people are
interesting.
showing
I
that.
mean, queen takes does not work.
I think yeah, there's a discussion between queen c3 and queen d3 here. But yeah, if you want to show why queen takes doesn't work,
Yeah, I mean, queen takes. Is it this?
yeah, it's just the queen's under attack and black's winning this pawn very cleanly.
Um,
Um,
threat of bishop as here as well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
yeah. Queen d3. Pawn to c4. Queen to c2. Rook to c8. Honestly, I think just black's position is so much easier to play.
yeah, the thing is, black has to look after these pawns.
Yeah.
No one's won any material.
I feel like this is a plan. Pawn here, pawn here. Pawn e4, pawn d5 at some point. Um,
Yeah, my knowledge is a lot more hazy at this point, but it's clear that white has quite a few choices about where to put his pieces.
yeah, these positions are always very, very double-edged and interesting. But I think he's having a think. So let's see what's happening with board 2. Ooh,
Oh, another one of these G4s.
another G4. I love this guy. Is he the one playing G4 every time? Okay, so I've actually seen this played against me, and I took the pawn, and it did not end well. Um, so G4, H6, and Rook G1, E5. This is the correct move order. I'm pretty sure. from what I analyzed a while ago. So basically, white is going to castle long maybe at some point. Um, but for now, I think just he needs to think: does he want to take? Does he want to play bishop to d2? Maybe g5. What do you think? What's the moves to consider here?
Um, yeah, I don't know this one so well, but it's clear that black has a lot of pressure that's going to come out if he gets to recapture on e5.
Yeah,
Um, the dream of castling long with white is very interesting, and probably he still has to go for that.
yeah,
But this is definitely what black's supposed to do to get counterplay in this kind of position.
yeah,
I know
definitely.
everyone loves to say you open the center when one side prematurely attacks from the wing.
I mean,
Um,
I think I want to take as white. It gives way too much play to black, but maybe
yeah,
bishop here. For now, I mean, good scenario would be that black pushes. For that would be a good scenario for white. I don't think that should really be giving up the tension. Um, yeah, interesting position. And then board three. Oh, how do we get here?
this
Caro-Kann.
is another strategy. Oh, it's a Caro-Kann.
Wow. Okay, how do you get this from a Caro-Kann? Let's see. So two knights.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't want to take the queen here unless you want to be checkmated. Um, interesting. I haven't seen this. Okay, so this is how we got here. I think it's equal for now, but really interesting game.
Yeah, this will definitely not peter out very fast because
Yeah,
both sides are pointing bishops to the opponent's king rather than each other's bishops. So trades aren't very likely.
yeah, and
Oh, I could see this going in black's favor, in fact.
could easily go in black's favor. Bishop b7.
I'm not very comfortable with that knight retreat
Yeah,
because it has to go somewhere to become more active.
although h3 is going to happen at some point. I feel like the knight retreat. The thing is, he was probably scared of pawn takes, and he wants to take back with the knight. Doesn't want to have an isolated pawn. But
Yeah, the trouble is you can't really avoid this stuff, and black doesn't even have to take.
yeah, and actually, in these positions with the bishops looking quite active, you are quite fine with the isolated pawn. These are the positions you want to go for with an isolated pawn. Um, so I don't know about knight f3.
Yeah, shall we see what happens later?
Scared. Yeah.
So this is board four now, Imperial versus Cambridge, and
This one looks
we have an endgame.
cool. Yeah.
So it looks like black is well within prep because black still has all of their starting time.
Wow. 15 minutes. Okay. I mean, white puts a lot of pressure for the moment, especially on the a7 pawn, so the rook can't really move. But after pawn to a6, maybe.
It's quite hard to see how white's going to attack and infiltrate if black sort of just passes.
Yeah.
There may be some ways to improve the position slowly so black can't get away with passing, but it looks quite difficult. So maybe the c5 square is where white will be going.
Yeah, maybe bishop c5 or knight c5. I pawn c5 is sometimes like you want to play that move, but I'm not sure it's that good in these positions.
Yeah, you really want to keep that pawn covering the d5 square for now
Yeah. So,
because of the knight.
yeah, interesting position. Um,
Yeah, we'll see if white's able to make anything. It looks like white might be able to make an advantage here rather than black, but it's not clear how to do that.
yeah. We have, oh, we have a board order change for Warwick. Max is playing board one.
Well, after that big draw he just made,
Yeah,
probably deserves it.
grandmaster play. Um, all right. So, I mean, looks like a good position for white. Not much to say. Um, see how it goes. And then we have Victor on board two.
Oh, this is yeah, this is I think this is that Catalan position.
Is this theory?
Yeah, I think so. And not the specific position, but we're only just out of theory, I think.
Oh, yes, the one where yeah, okay, let's see. Okay, so let's see. All right, this is the starting position for Catalan. X6. Interesting. Not Pontex. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is really interesting, actually.
Bishop A3.
Mhm.
And all right, so E5. This is all pretty much kind of
Yeah,
forced.
so what's happening here is that White's got the activity, but White's also got the weakness on c3 and the isolated queenside pawns.
Yeah,
So what White is hoping is either to win multiple pawns for the c pawn, or to win a pawn for nothing, or to win more material in some kind of attacking trick.
yeah,
And Black is just hoping to equalize quite often.
yeah. I mean, it's usually like not too hard to equalize because usually you give up these 2 pounds, you get these 2 pounds in return, and then it should be easy to draw if you do that. But if things go wrong with the with these bishops and this pawn, it can go badly. Okay, so knight here, attacking the bishop,
Yeah,
controlling the
it looks like it's
file.
it's time to just take a7.
Bishop takes a7 in
Yeah, because the
position.
bishop's under attack, and you have to do something with it. And eventually, you have to take these pawns.
Knight here,
Yeah, so Black will just
knight
continue to
here.
play threats. Oh, okay, so this is quite serious.
This is very serious.
It's sort of a double fork.
Oh, wow.
It's very nice.
Okay, so we have bishop takes a7, knight c4. Um,
Followed by knight a3. Yeah,
followed by knight a3. So bishop
that's a very nice.
b4, bishop b4 stops this. Um,
Yeah, it's a very nice trick by Victor because he's gotten out of a lot of the pressure now.
yeah, actually, um, this actually doesn't look very good either.
Yeah, this looks very good for Black.
Yeah, with
At least
bishop
in terms of
here, we have stuff like this.
yeah,
Um,
now Black's it's almost like Black's got more activity now because of the
knight,
strong knight on c4.
knight, knight a5, posing big trouble. Okay, so actually,
Queen a4. That's a very nice move. So the point is that the rook on e8 is hanging if you capture the bishop.
very nice line. Um,
But of course, Black's not hanging anything at the moment, so a move like b6 might come to mind to just
b6, yep.
try and hold everything
Happy
together.
b6 was played. b6,
So again, this could really work out for black um, because the queenside pawns are now much harder to attack.
Yeah.
But there's
Bishop
still to be seen. I think bishop b4 will come now very quickly.
bishop b4, knight to c4, and also threatening moves like, okay, that was played. Knight to c4, maybe pawn to a5 to follow.
Yeah, but at least this time we can play bishop a3 with white.
Yeah. Um,
But now white somehow needs to get rid of this strong knight because it defends all the pawns with this a5 b6 formation.
yeah. Hmm. I mean, black has done some good moves so far, and he also has 14 minutes on the clock, so
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious what that queen on f6 will do in the future, but shall we move on?
try to see board three. Okay, how do we get here?
So they're not playing very many moves. A lot of thinking by black.
Whoa. Oh, I see. So actually, this can this I was gonna say this can arise from the English. Not too sure anymore. But basically here, you can't play knight takes because you run into queen takes d5. So this is kind of a gambit. Bishop here. It looks like kind of like a Mora. Um, in some ways, it reminds me of a Mora. Um, but back to life move. Okay, this is what happened in the game. So bishop c5, t3, pawn e4. I would castle here. What would you do?
I'm going to assume e4 maybe significant theoretical idea or something because it's quite hard to play
Because
e4 without knowing about it.
he wants to get this pawn without being trouble. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, this is actually quite interesting opening that Black played, and looks like it has a lot of compensation.
it's interesting though that black's very low on time now, so
Yeah. I'm
we can't be very sure that he's
surprised he still
okay.
don't. Maybe he made this up on the board.
Yeah, at least some of the moves he would have made up over the board.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you make up e5.
Yeah. Definitely not.
It clearly has a lot of consequences.
Yeah. Although I would take Black's position here. I think it's just much easier to play. Um, but then I used to play the Mora, so I'm very biased. Um, Also looks like an Albin Gambit, kind of. A pawn might fall at some point. And then board four. Um, what do we have here?
Ooh,
Zimir, she's. Oh no, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say rook up. I was not counting well.
it does look very nice for black.
It does.
It's white has these two scary looking knights, but it's not clear what they're going to be attacking.
Yeah.
Um, and this king size structure for white doesn't look very secure.
I wonder
Meanwhile,
what.
black has a very compact structure around the king.
So f3 doesn't look great. I mean, here f3 was played. That's not great. You should
Yeah,
really be
maybe
careful.
something went wrong early on.
Yeah, that's it, honestly. All right. Well, knight here. Honestly, it just looks like these knights look a tiny bit scary for now, but actually they're deep into enemy territory and can be easily attacked um, at some point.
Yeah, I suspect the white has all the long-term problems and all the short-term problems that white can pose are not very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my
even just for
suspicion.
now, like you have knight here protecting this and attacking the queen, followed by pawn push or something.
Yeah, or even some slower setup because it's not clear how white's going to break out of the position.
That's true. That is true.
Maybe
Maybe
some kind of queen b5 here by white.
queen b5.
Yeah, and the idea is you're pinning the knight ready for b4 to follow.
Pawn to a6. Okay, so that was played. Pawn to a6.
a6 makes a lot of sense. You just don't have to deal with the pin anymore, but you give up this b6 square,
Very true.
which isn't a major threat because the d6 knight would hang if knight b6 was played, but I think the queen might live there.
So a6, queen a5. What other moves do
Or
we
queen
have?
a5, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, actually, queen a5, you're right. Queen a5 keeps up the pressure because white is actually threatening to play b4,
yeah.
which was initially a little bit hard to see because the queen was blocking the pawn.
Oh, actually, I just found something. A6, queen a5, b5.
Oh, okay. And the black queen is actually defending the rook on a8.
Yeah, I mean, we have this, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait, but also we're threatening knight here as well, so that's
Oh,
wow.
that's been there ever since queen a5.
Yeah.
Okay, so
A6 was
the
not
the
good.
the pin, the pin I've been talking about with queen b5 capturing on d5,
Yeah.
it's not it's not a pin as in you can't move the knight because the queen is obviously defended.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Um, but I feel like the queen trade may be important to White's plan of trying to snag a pawn with the knights.
Yeah. Even with the queens traded, um, black's position. I mean, pieces are not very well coordinated. Maybe short term they might
Yeah,
be okay, but okay. So rook d8 was played.
yeah. I'm not sure why a6 was skipped, but this probably is just as good for black.
Yeah, I mean, where does the knight go?
White gets to carry out the threat with b4, but it wasn't that strong of a threat.
But actually now it's interesting to see because b4,
And knight b3.
perhaps. I don't know about knight b3 though.
Okay. Well, part of the problem is that black has won a pawn,
Yeah, on b7.
and if you don't play knight b3, you might lose b7 maybe. Or you can try knight e6.
Actually, yeah, let's look at knight b3. So because actually we can play knight here at some point afterwards. So if rook here, knight here, and bye bye with a fork, and then if rook here, we also have knight to c3, also threatening takes on c1 and takes on e2. And I feel like the b pawn is not that important compared to the e pawn, considering that we can
Yeah,
just push through.
and white's b4 pawn.
Yeah, oh, so the b4 pawn, yeah. Um,
That's gonna happen.
yeah, so rook d8, interesting. It was played pretty quickly, but I think this should be fine. All right, let's go back to. Um, Should we see what's going with Imperial and Cambridge?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I
Okay.
think our producer wanted us to watch some of the other divisions as well. So just been sticking to
Oh,
Division One.
we can't. We can't. Can we? Wait, this whole time.
Yep.
You should have told me. I didn't clock. Okay. My bad. Let's watch the other divisions. Brown Tom, 6 out of 6. Just want to put that out there. From
Yeah, no one in Division One has a perfect score.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, Julia Volovich is playing. Can we look at that game?
Which one?
Julia Volovich. Yeah, at the bottom of Cambridge.
Bottom of Cambridge. I am very blind. Okay. All right. Let's look at that. So.
So Julia's a player from my local area when I was growing up.
Oh.
I think she's about 2100 ECF now.
Very nice. Well, I think she's. Wow. Okay.
That's a very interesting sacrifice.
Very nice move. Threatening. Knight takes d5, and you win back to piece.
I'm a bit concerned though. What if are there some traps because that bishop on d6 could move with check?
But actually, when he moves a check, the knight takes back and protects the queen.
Oh, that's very good. That's very impressive.
Very nice move.
And that knight will be defending the queen.
That is okay. So bishop check.
Ooh,
Oh,
the move order change.
little nuance.
Oh no, this is not looking good for white.
So what do we have? We have 2 pawns for a piece. Actually, it's not too bad, right? Because you threatening this as well, right? So get 3 pawns for the pieces. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if
black will be
playing
able
that
to
now.
dissipate pressure though with bishop a6, perhaps. Oh, actually, maybe not. Yeah, black has a little bit of a defensive job to do,
The queen needs
but
to move to d6,
yeah,
right?
the queen needs to move.
To protect this.
But what I'm worried about is that white simply won't get the h1 rook into the game.
I mean, queen to d6. Is there anything immediate that can happen? So bishop takes b5.
Yeah, white will have to rely on these ideas to try and get some pressure.
Yeah.
Queen to d6. Yeah, so the knight on d5 is hanging, but also interestingly, a3 would trap the bishop.
But so
And this solves your problem with
yeah,
the knight hanging.
yeah.
But I'm a bit worried about, say, bishop a6 by black, which is just going to trade more and more material. This is a
True.
pin against the white king on f1, which is why you cannot capture on c6.
True. Yeah. So actually, you're right. Knight here, followed by knight takes c8, and a3 could be a plan to consider. Maybe winning the. This is what we're talking about. Pawn to a3, winning the bishop.
Yeah, this is a bit of a land grab since black has discovered attacks now.
Yeah. So
Which look very dangerous. I think knight d4 might be winning.
d4, queen to
And
d1.
now the bishop can escape.
It can. Or it can't. Oh yeah, it can. Well, no, it can't. Well, the knight is hanging. So in this position.
Yeah, the trouble is it's just giving back the piece, so to get the pawns back.
Yeah.
And white still has the king on f1, so at the end of the day we're trading away the material advantage for
For this.
the dynamic advantage where White will simply just not have a rook in the
Yeah.
game.
I mean, this is quite hard as well. She has, okay, so, wow, queen takes was made.
Oh,
Interesting. Oh,
Andrina, something I don't. What is it?
um, bishop takes c6, bishop check, and when the king moves, you can bring this rook in, and actually you don't lose any material because you win the queen back.
Yeah, this isn't looking too good for Cambridge.
Yeah. Okay. Also 1 minute on the clock. Wow, they have been playing very quick. So queen takes was played. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm not sure the 3 pawns. Maybe they can make a
The
move
White's
if
doing quite
this.
well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Black may be able to take over the position, but if White just goes King E2, King D3,
I
yeah,
think
there's going to be some questions to answer.
I don't think white can hold this one.
Yeah, White's going to have to answer some questions here. But maybe White can trade a rook now,
Yeah,
like
if
this,
he trades
yeah.
a rook now and goes king d3, then that's fine.
And there's no entrance square for Black, so now White is actually perhaps on the better side of it with the free pawns. Because there are no clear targets for Black to gang up on, and White can choose how to slowly improve the position.
Yeah, these positions are
So it
always
looks like
hard to play.
an excellent save by White.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe White just saw everything from the beginning, you know.
yeah. Maybe this was all planned.
And what other games do we have?
Um, we have, I don't know, maybe this one. Eddie Gray against Ranish. Ooh. So piece for how many pawns? Okay, so piece for 1 pawn, but then you have two really active pawns. I want to say black is doing really good.
Yeah, I'm not sure how White can get the pieces to good squares here.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
all offside.
really interesting. How did this happen? Okay, so this is how this all happened. In this position, he sacrifices his knight.
That's very nice.
Very nice move. Wow. Okay. Well, that's really nice. And then we have um, any particular games you want to look at? We bring out the teams. Oh, I think both Warwick teams are playing both Cambridge teams, so that's why we have all of them on one page.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see what's
And Cambridge
happening.
have a lot of strong players, actually, if this is their Division 2 team.
Yeah, this is shocking. They have Ranish on their Division 2 team. That is dangerous, dangerous play.
What's his score?
Wow. 4.5 out of 6. Saunders Aaron. I mean, Saunders Aaron is really strong as well. This is just his rapid rating. His classical is much higher. Saunders Aaron is on 6.5 out of 7. Wow. Um, is Brown Tom playing? Yes. Okay. Just want to point out, Brown Tom for work is on 6 out of 6.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
let's see if this will continue. Okay, so we have a pawn up for Tom. Um, some compensation for white. I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if white has enough compensation here.
Yeah.
And white's down on the clock as well. White's very low on time. So this might end very quickly, actually.
Trading bishops.
So the more pieces get traded, the fewer blockaders there are going to be. That's what I'm worried about. Maybe the heavy piece endgame.
To win though, for black, because blockading with the rooks and the queen is not too complicated. So he could
Yeah,
all the way through.
it does become much less complicated with the bishops off of the board.
Yeah.
So he goes for it. I can definitely imagine some kind of immediate b5 by black.
Yeah.
It's somewhat risky, but you get to pounce into play with your rooks along the c file afterwards.
That's true. And then, but for now, I feel like he's going to try play. I feel like in these positions, they always make some random moves to gain some time, and then they.
Yeah, you need to prepare these things. There's no reason not to prepare some ideas. You could double the rooks. Yeah, rook d8, interesting. Yeah, you could just force white to tie up his pieces onto the blockade. So he's just putting maximum pressure behind the pawns for now and saying that white can't really do anything.
It's hard for black to do much as well, because if the queen moves, we have pawn to f6, and I would say, for example, like if the queen moves pawn to f6, g6, you have rook takes.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a very good way to end it.
That would not. So
Oh, but now the queen could recapture on f6. That would be quite interesting.
yeah,
I think what Tom needs to do is he needs to create an open file somewhere on the board on the queen side,
okay,
and maybe he can try and do that without sacrificing material.
yeah. Some point play b5. Maybe also move his king out of the way. So if f6 is played, okay, I thought so. Yeah. He could also go for rook e7, rook, and bring the other rook in. I'm not sure what white is doing here.
I think white's kind of marking time. Queen g5 is interesting, but anything black does with the queen to get it into play will leave behind the defense of the king side.
Yeah. So especially with 1 minute on the clock. Hmm. Yeah, queen g5. Maybe does black doesn't need to. Maybe he needs to play rook to d6 at some point. Protect the sixth file. Okay, so queen g5 was played.
It might have actually been an opportunity to move the queen and play f6 and build up a structure like that.
Yeah.
So now I think you just go back to f6.
Queen d2 f6. Pawn
But
to
you
f6.
could go queen d2, you could go queen f4 even, which might not be very good.
Yeah. Queen f4. Yeah, I mean, interesting. Oh,
Oh, he's going for this. Okay. So it's not I think black won't be worse in this rook endgame.
definitely
So
not.
this is gonna
Yeah.
yeah, if white takes this then we're gonna have a single rook endgame. White takes on e8 now and plays rook d3. Yeah, so this isn't ideal for black. May even be slightly white favored.
I think it's just. Oh. Um. Okay. Okay. So the idea is king f3, rook e3.
Yeah,
Very nicely found.
but yeah, the main reason this is any good at all for black is just that black has an extra pawn.
Yeah, exactly.
So really, all this whole combination did was it helped black to get pieces off the board rather than improving the position.
Yeah.
This has been a
White
strategic
White
sacrifice.
needs to go for something quick like b4, c5, or it's going to be game over.
Yeah, b4 c5 is a great idea. Just creating a pass pawn to distract black's rook, and then getting rid of black's pass pawn, going after the weak f pawn, and it's very hard to see how black would win that. It looks like there's not
Okay,
much that white would be
he's
hanging.
going for it.
Yeah, here it comes. So this is shaping up to be a draw.
Thing is, oh, I don't know about g3. I think it's a bit hurried, but the thing with c5 is if he doesn't play fast enough, if king f6, king e6 is played, and he gets close to the c pawn, then c5 is not a threat anymore. In fact, c5 is not a
Yeah,
threat anymore. C5 just doesn't work anymore. He should have rushed it.
yeah, it's getting more and more awkward to play white's position now. Um, Before c5 or during c5, one of the main points is that you bring the rook back around via d1 to c1.
Yeah, and the thing is now, how does black continue? He goes. He wants
This
to.
looks very good for
He
black
wants
now,
to
actually, because
also push his pawns, and
white's king now, instead of defending the g pawn and attacking the d pawn, it now has to find a middle ground between the h pawn and the d pawn, which is one file further apart.
yeah, and actually the king now
So,
is kind of blocked off from the center of the
yeah,
pawn.
so it's
Black has
become
three
completely
paths.
blocked off. When it was on f2, it wasn't so bad because it was a file closer to the d pawn. As soon as the black rook left the e file, it would have been able to become involved in the defense.
Oh, we have ideas.
Oh,
We have rook c3 ideas coming in.
okay. I think maybe black could have just marched the king in immediately instead, but this also looks devastating.
Yeah.
So now black is controlling the third rank instead of the f file.
I think. Oh, okay. I think he's just confident in his pawn. I mean,
Yeah,
king
this
here
looks
or rook
completely
d3 would
wasted.
have done something good as well, but
But you can see that by playing g3 and by making this trade, all that's happened is that black's been able to get rid of this f pawn, which was somewhat of a weakness,
yeah. So
and
here,
white's lost the g pawn, which was a defensive pawn that was
yeah,
helping the h pawn.
yeah. I mean, if he played c5 here, right?
Yeah, so the king keeps moving towards the pawn.
The thing is, yeah, the king does.
Yeah, the king is in time, but what white can do is white can swing the rook around.
Yeah.
This
Um,
might actually already be losing because of
but
how things are, but as soon as you play rook d1, you're threatening king f3.
yeah,
So a line will be like king f6, and rook d1, and now black has to decide what to do. Yeah, king e5. Okay, sure. Oh yeah, well, king e6, king f3 would
c5, yeah.
be played. So I think c6 might be played,
Yeah,
and then I'll just go after the rook
yeah.
and try and win both of these two
One
extended pawns with
one of the
them.
pawns will fall down. You're gonna win
Yeah,
this,
and
you're
perhaps
gonna lose something else, and you're gonna lose this pawn, and it's going to be quite equal after that.
yeah, the d pawn's going to fall. That's going to be the important part.
Yeah. So in
And
these in endgames, you want to play for activity, and so in this case, you're thanks to this pawn, you've equalized, but
yeah,
G3 does
and
not do that.
in the game, black was able to trade away the weakness, and white made weaknesses.
Yeah,
Like the h2 pawn is now weak.
yeah. I mean, this is a current position. Um, it's not looking good for white. Pawn to d2 immediately is not good, but honestly, like I think black can get away with stuff like this as well.
Yeah, this is over. It's been a very nice endgame play by Tom.
Yeah, 7 out of 7, perhaps. Let's see.
I think you said he had a. Oh no, yeah, 7 out of 7,
Ooh,
crushing the field.
wow, very nice. Yeah, queen mate soon because if king comes, rook check first, and it's game over.
Where else should we look?
Um, should we see what happened with? Oh,
Yeah, so those extra pawns were definitely worth a little bit more than the bishop.
so we stopped here. Just quickly go
You
through
see,
it.
the engine likes black, but it's very hard to see how black could ever achieve anything. And already it's back to equality, and
This is
suddenly,
really hard to play for white
yeah,
and really easy to play for red.
practically, yeah, practically it's much easier to play for white, and it's very hard to come up with anything that justifies the engine's opinion on this. Where it
Wow,
starts off saying it's slightly better.
very well played.
A nice tactical finish.
Yeah. That's that. So who else is? Should we see two
What
more
happened in our
games
big match in
in the Div One?
in yeah, in Division One?
Okay, so we have UCL beat Nottingham. Oh, wow, 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 wow! Imperial is beating Cambridge. This is a crazy mate. Oh my god. Should we see what happened?
Yeah, where did we leave this game?
Um, oh, we left it here. Okay. So, e5.
Yeah, with e5. So white captured and then for this knight b5 and then bishop b8 was played.
I think this is like quite standard for black. Um, the thing with the g4 stuff, it's like if black knows how to play, it's not that good. Um, Rook c1, so pawn takes f3, queen takes the bishop. So played castle, bishop b4, rook a. I mean, this is looking quite bad for white. Looks like he's overdone himself with his.
Yeah, and the problem is what it's throwing out all these threats, but at the end of the day, the G pawn is going to hang,
Yeah, it's like
and that's what
weak
usually
threats
happens.
against long-term advantage.
Yeah, so black took on G4 here with the
Yeah,
knight,
with the knight,
and then white's brought the queen over, so white's going to, instead of just admitting he's a pawn down, he's going to attack, which is
winning,
a very good way to play this.
and g5 was the best move. I mean, that's very hard to
Yeah,
say.
that's hard.
I mean, okay. So queen g5 was played. Can't blame the guy. Pawn to h3 was played, and then we have
Knight h2.
ooh, very nice
So
find.
the idea here is if you take that knight, you'll lose your knight on h4.
h4, very nice. So that's what happened, and bishop d6 was played. Um, thing is, black's pieces don't look very well positioned right now.
Well,
I mean,
the
white's
idea
pieces.
here
What I'm
is,
saying, white's pieces.
yeah, the idea is that white wants to reposition the bishop over to e5
Yep.
and just hammer down the g file, and hopefully black won't be able to attack any of his pawns or anything.
Yeah,
I think black
and
wants to
bishop
just trade
f5
the rook
and
and
bishop
see how-
g6 repositions the bishop. Um,
Yeah.
and so
So black's counterplay is going to be to trade down the c file
yeah,
and just attack the king from that side with the rook.
I mean these pawns are looking quite weak. This pawn's looking weak. This knight can be very active at some point. So
Yeah, so white's trapped all his heavy pieces on the right side of the board.
yeah,
They're literally going to be stuck there. So if black is able to create play on the queen side without hanging anything,
yeah.
it looks quite dangerous for white.
Um,
So all the moves are very natural from black.
we have rook g4 and
Mhm.
amazing play was
Rook c7.
the magic happened on board. Rook takes c7, and the idea is after check, king d2, rook c8, you're actually threatening checkmate on c2 because these squares are all gone. So
Yeah, and this is what happens. All of white's pieces are not able to defend the queen side.
that's like a very nice find. And so what actually ended up happening is bishop here, you don't really have too much choice, and then takes, so stealing up everything, and
Yeah.
checkmate.
And
Yeah. Wow. Oh, and we have a win by Imperial on board one as well. Oh wow. Um, Imperial won against Cambridge.
so that does that put them in a more secure spot? Because Imperial were higher in the standings, weren't they?
No, actually Cambridge were, so can check that. Okay, so Cambridge was third, Imperial was sixth. Basically, what changes is Imperial gets Imperial is quite far. Imperial is just doing upsets upon upsets. But
Yeah, they're a strong team, but they've not done too well in the early rounds.
yeah, they've really done well in the last three rounds. Woke up
Oh, and they
against
really
Warwick.
suffered against Warwick, it seems.
Yep. Um. Yeah. Okay. So well done for that. What that was the close game, and then we have 4-0 for Warwick and 3.5 UCL. We have Birmingham 2.5, 1.5 Cardiff. Oxford beat Kestrel 3-1, and Warwick beat Loughborough 4-0. So upset by
Yeah.
Imperial. There's still one game going on though. Um,
It looks like it's just between Oxford and was it UCL?
yeah,
Oxford and
Oxford and
UCL.
UCL.
One of those two teams will be winning this championship.
Yeah.
And this is a very interesting position, actually. It may look like it's winning with the extra 2 points, but in fact, this might actually be a draw already.
Looks like a draw.
The defender has a lot of resources in this kind of position.
King
The
h7,
white king
king
is
h6.
just trapped on the back rank,
Yeah.
and it's not really clear how white can force the black king away.
Yeah. It's always like this in rook endgames. You might have two pawns up and still be drawing.
Were there any winning chances earlier?
Let's see. Um, ooh, this is where we started from. I'm not sure how it goes, but I would say this is winning.
Actually, I think this is remarkably a draw. If you like, you can click on the book icon.
You're right. Was there any winning move?
No, if you use the book instead of the engine,
Oh,
and never mind, you've gone further back in the game.
no. Oh, you can't use the book. It's too far in.
You can use the book when there's very few pieces on the board.
Um,
Not here. Like in the final rook end game, if you want to see if it's a draw.
yeah, I mean, this is a draw. Not much to say about it.
Yeah, it should bring up the table base.
I'm really struggling with that. Okay, it's showing.
Well, there it is.
It's bringing it. Okay, finally. Okay, good to know. Rook f6 is
Yeah,
good to know.
important chess tip. This little tool here that appears when there are very few pieces on the board is better than the engine.
That is quite good. All right, so that's game over. I think they're done in. Let's see what happened in the div two. Okay, so they're finished. Round 7. Um, so Warwick 2 beats Cambridge 3, and Warwick 3 loses to Cambridge 2. Um, and we have KCL beats Exeter. Oxford beats Imperial. Um, and Oxford draws against UCL. Wow, UCL have a really strong um, team as well for Div 2, all 1900s. Okay. All right. Should I? I'm gonna stop the stream to whoever's watching. I hope our YouTube famous by now.